Afternoon, Evan Dyer, CBC News. If you could answer in English and French also. If elected Prime Minister, do you still intend to fire the Governor of the Bank of Canada?
My view is that if waitresses, barbers, mechanics.
In a fiery clash that left liberal spin doctors in shambles, Poilievre dismantled Carney's economic record with surgical precision, like a veteran debater shredding a first-year undergrad's half-baked thesis. Now, as Carney steps into the driver's seat of Canada's economy, Poilievre delivered a brutal reality check. This isn't just a debate, it's a warning. Carney, the so-called economic savior, whose infamous flip-flopping on interest rates earned him the nickname Britain's unreliable boyfriend, is now tasked with steering Canada through a crisis. But let's be real, this isn't some rom-com miscommunication. This is about failed policies, soaring inflation, and a generation priced out of their own futures. Poilievre didn't just score points, he exposed the stakes. While Carney's dithering left UK markets in chaos, Canadians are already paying the price for the same tired Liberal playbook: empty promises, reckless spending, and a housing nightmare with no end in sight. This wasn't just a takedown, it was a flashing red alert. And if Poilievre's right, Canadians are finally wide awake. Welcome back to True North Politics. If your grocery bill feels like a mortgage payment and your paycheck vanishes faster than a Prime Minister's accountability, you don't need a wake-up call, you're already living it. Mark Carney, the Liberals' anointed economic genius, is now PM. And Poilievre didn't wait 10 seconds to point out the obvious. Carney's track record is about as stable as a crypto bro's investment advice. The man who turned the Bank of England into a flip-flop factory, promising rate hikes, then chickening out like a guy who ghosted his Tinder date, is now in charge of Canada's financial survival. Spoiler alert, this won't end well. Poilievre didn't just mock the unreliable boyfriend meme, he weaponized it. Carney's indecision sparked market chaos abroad, leaving investors and families scrambling. Now, he's bringing that same energy to Canada. Bottom line, this isn't politics, it's a countdown. And if Poilievre's right, Canadians are done being the ones left holding the bill.
Good afternoon, Evan Dyer, CBC News. If you could answer in English and French also. If elected Prime Minister, do you still intend to fire the Governor of the Bank of Canada?
My view is that if waitresses, barbers, mechanics, or other people don't do their jobs, they get fired. You know, Mark Carney should have been fired when he was the head of the Bank of England, and he acted as, in the words of the London Telegraph, as an unreliable boyfriend, changing his mind constantly, printing too much money, which led to inflation. But he doesn't think that people like him should ever get fired. They should just get promoted after they raise people's costs and ruin people's lives. I disagree. I believe that government officials should be accountable for their decisions, and when they fail, government officials should be fired. That is how the life works in the real world, and that is how life will work when I am Prime Minister of Canada.
This is precisely the kind of tone-deaf leadership Canadians can't afford while choosing between groceries and rent. Let's examine Carney's UK record beyond the spin. It wasn't just inconsistent, it was an economic time bomb wrapped in bureaucratic complacency. While inflation numbers appeared manageable during his tenure, the toxic policies he implemented guaranteed Britain's economic collapse the moment he left office. By 2022, the damage was undeniable, with inflation exploding past 11% mints, the equivalent of an economic arsonist dousing a building in gasoline and handing you the match as he walks away. Now, this same architect of financial chaos is being presented as Canada's economic savior. That's not just ironic, it's like appointing a pyromaniac as fire chief while your house burns down around you. Make no mistake, Poilievre's takedown isn't mere political theater, though watching Liberal apologists twist themselves into knots defending Carney's record does offer some dark comedy. This is a vital warning about recycling the same failed policies that have already crushed Canadian families. The numbers don't lie. Inflation keeps breaking records, the dream of home ownership has evaporated for an entire generation, and what was once a cost of living crisis has become our grim new normal. In this reality, Poilievre's demand for basic accountability, that officials actually face consequences for catastrophic failures, shouldn't be controversial. Yet in Ottawa's bubble of rewarded incompetence, it's practically revolutionary. The painful truth? Canada's economic pain isn't accidental, It's the inevitable result of a system that promotes failure and punishes taxpayers.
Congratulating, I should begin by wishing Mr. Trudeau a happy retirement and all the best to his family, and congratulating Mr. Trudeau's economic advisor, Mark Carney, on becoming Prime Minister only 3 months after he moved his headquarters out of Canada to New York, moving jobs away from Canada. Today, Liberals are trying to trick Canadians into electing them for a 4th term in power, with a cabinet that is 87% the same as Trudeau's cabinet. 100% of today's Liberal cabinet were in Justin Trudeau's Liberal caucus. These same Liberal MPs voted to hike the carbon tax, double the debt, double food bank lineups, and double housing costs. But it's the same Liberal gang with the same Liberal agenda, the same Liberal results, and the same Liberal promises of the last 10 years. Only they want you to be fooled, and they want to take 4 terms. Carbon tax Carney will try later today to pull another fast one. This one's going to be very sneaky, very sneaky. I call it the carbon tax con job. I told you this was going to happen, by the way. Don't say I didn't warn you. He's going to hide the consumer carbon tax for 60 days, and if he's reelected, he'll bring it back bigger than ever with no rebate. Let's be clear. He says that the carbon tax he intends to bring in after the election will be a, quote, shadow carbon tax. And we know that he loves carbon taxes because he publicly advised Trudeau over the last 5 years to raise the taxes even more. But here's what I've got. This is the Liberal carbon tax law. This law cannot be eliminated unless Parliament resumes to vote it down. Mr. Carney could have asked Trudeau to do that months ago. Mr. Carney could have reconvened Parliament today to vote this law down, but he won't.
Additionally, if you believe PV is fabricating this, hear what a former British Prime Minister had to say. The warning is clear even from the other side of the Atlantic. If Carney was such an economic savior, why is the UK still suffering from the effects of his policies? His leadership did not save the UK. Rather, it buried it beneath a mountain of economic mismanagement. If it weren't so frightening for Canadians who must deal with the fallout, the Liberals' attempt to portray him as a financial wizard would be amusing.
Just wanting to get your thoughts on Mark Carney and your relationship with him while you were Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and any advice you have to Canadians who think he might make a good Prime Minister.
Well, Mark Carney was Governor of the Bank of England, and under his tenure, too much money was printed, which did damage to the British economy and put our economy off track. He, at the last election, endorsed Rachel Reeves' economic policy. She's now become Chancellor. It's been a disaster for Britain. The country is heading for bankruptcy. So I would strongly recommend not backing Mark Carney or his policies on net zero, which have been disastrous for Britain and would be disastrous for Canada.
Do you trust his judgment overall, outside of ideological considerations?
Well, I believe that he made major mistakes in the management of the Bank of England. He has pushed net zero, which has been a disaster, not just for the UK, but for many countries across the world.
Thanks for your time, Prime Minister. I appreciate it.
Liberal spin doctors are...
The Liberal spin machine is in full damage control mode, but no amount of polished talking points can whitewash Carney's disastrous economic record. His spokesperson, Audrey Champs, how fitting a name for Team Trudeau, has the audacity to accuse Poilievre of misrepresenting Carney's experience. This from the same party that spent years rebranding their economic train wrecks as just transitions and transitory inflation. Let's cut through the Liberal smokescreen. Carney's defenders desperately cling to his 2008 crisis management, but conveniently ignore how his policy decisions laid the groundwork for today's economic nightmare. Artificially suppressed interest rates and enabling government spending sprees might have earned him applause in Ottawa boardrooms, but regular Canadians are now stuck footing the bill. Poilievre isn't just exposing Carney's failures, he's presenting a clear alternative: fiscal responsibility over reckless spending, economic freedom over bureaucratic control, affordable living over inflationary policies. The coming election presents the starkest choice in generations: more Carney-style economic malpractice that's bankrupted Britain and is failing Canada, Poilievre's common-sense plan to restore affordability and opportunity. While Carney enjoys cozy support from Laurentian elites, Poilievre's building a movement of actual working Canadians, people who can't afford another term of being gaslit about just hanging on while their paychecks evaporate. The verdict is in on Carneyomics. The only thing he's ever made affordable is currency devaluation. Canadians deserve better than a central banker who treats our economy like a monetary policy lab experiment. As the political dust settles, one truth remains undeniable. Economic leadership has never mattered more. Poilievre's message is cutting through because it speaks to kitchen table realities, not Ottawa bubble fantasies. The question isn't whether Carney's policies will fail. We've seen that movie in Britain. The real question is whether Canadians will suffer through the sequel. What's your take? Is Carney the economic guru the Liberals claim, or is Poilievre right to sound the alarm? Drop your thoughts below, please. And if you're tired of establishment spin, hit subscribe and join the conversation. Follow us on X at Street Politics for the analysis you won't get from mainstream media. The battle for Canada's economic future is just heating up.